Yo, what's going on? So, for those that know me and have been following me on my social media journey, what's going on, my people? For those that don't know me or have yet to meet me or see my socials or anything like that, I'm Anthony, yo, Mr. Arroyo, and I am a cryptocurrency educator. I am a Web3 traveler, metaverse builder, anything blockchain, anything cryptocurrency, I'm there. I was there for the boom of the Bitcoin ATMs. I was there for the NFT explosion, for the Bored Ape yachts. I was there for it all. I was there for it all. And I'm still here. A, a space where a lot of people, kind of step back when things go down. Because anybody can call a win. Anybody can call a winning trade when everything's going up. And if Bitcoin is going from 66 to 105 and you call a buy, you look like a guru, pretty much. Like, can we just call it as it is? And social media makes that much more easier to do because you don't really need the proof. You don't really need the proof. You just post the win or the one win that you got. You don't post the 10 losses you took when it retraced. So when it comes to cryptocurrency, longevity is key. Consistency is key. Stewardship is key. Because the people who are going to last in this industry are the ones who can stick it out when Bitcoin goes from 125 to 50,000. Those are the people that are going to be like, yo, I was there. I did my thing. I made it through that storm and I held strong and here I am today. Not the people who pulled out, sold their money at 90 because they got scared, pulled their money out, and then bought back in at 60 and are like, oh yeah, I've been doing this. I'm here. This is me. No, because that's where people get screwed up. That's where people get scammed. And then that is where people give cryptocurrency a bad name. Amen? No. So let's talk about what is the blockchain? What is cryptocurrency? What is NFTs? What is going on in this space? Because to me, I feel like everybody knows, oh, we're late to Bitcoin. Everybody knows about it. But then you ask 3, 4, 5 people, and they don't even know the price of one Bitcoin right now. And that blows my mind that it's still such a baby market. So here it is. So the blockchain, which is a digital ledger that holds records of every transaction that happens in cryptocurrency, right? Whether you buy an NFT, whether you send somebody one Bitcoin, or which you be the judge of why you're sending somebody one Bitcoin. So that all gets recorded on the blockchain, right? They cannot be cloned. They cannot be changed. They cannot be manipulated. One blockchain or one block connects to the block before it. So it'll say, Anthony, this and this and this sent one Bitcoin to this and this and this address at this and this time. It'll have everything in the hash. Now, the next block that happens has to have all that information plus. So it's going to keep going forever. I want you to think of it as, so there was one time, where we used, what is it? An abacus? That's what it's called. Oh, nice. I got it. An abacus. There was a time when we used the abacus to count, and we used grains of rice and all these things to keep track of things. How much somebody owed. Then we came to the quote-unquote IOUs, right? The paper trail of, oh, I have this, I owe you this, those records. Then we started using bank books and checkbooks, and there was always a way to keep record of things. And then the debit card or the plastics, let's call it the credit cards, debit cards, things like that, bank cards, they became the next thing because they made it easier to keep track of and records of your spending, of your deposits, your withdrawals, all these things. But they were still able to make mistakes. This was still a new technology. To where we are now with the blockchain, that is pretty much anything. It doesn't even have to be your bank statements. Anything can have a record, whether it's artwork, whether it's the title of a vehicle, a deed of a home. This can all be stored on blockchain for record keeping. So if you go buy a house that, in your mind, in the inspector's mind, everything looks good, but back in 2019, they had a flood that nobody spoke about, that's on the blockchain. That's the beauty of it. What politicians are spending money on, that's on the blockchain. What hospitals are spending money and getting paid for is on the blockchain. So it creates that level of transparency that the world is looking for. We're not just living in a cloud of, oh, we don't know. I mean, the school asked me for some money. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how much the trip costs. I'm just sending the money for the trip. Like things like this that give us that enlightenment. Let us see what's going on in our everyday lives again. We're not just living in a bubble or a cloud or whatever you want to call it. We get to see these things. That's the beauty of the blockchain, the record keeping. Now, when it comes to cryptocurrency, people think, oh, it's just money. It's digital money. It's that fake money. It's just ones and zeros. And it's not. It's not. It's the future of tech and finance. So you have startups that are coming from cryptocurrency. Yes, you have finances. You have things like over cross-border payments, things like that overseas. I was trying to say, but it didn't want to come out. Cross-border payments, stuff like that. There's cryptocurrency for that. There's tokens and coins for that. You have smart contracts, which are basically like no third party, no middleman needed contracts of where, let's say, okay, let's take real estate. You are renting a home to a tenant, and same as every tenant, the money has to be paid on the first of the month for your rent. Now, you do give a 3-day period of grace. But now what happens if the tenant becomes late? And then the tenant becomes late again. Now, you have to go through all this paperwork, and you have to go through all these court systems and all these things. I'm not in real estate, so this is not real estate. I'm not telling you how to run your rental properties or your short-term rent or whatever the case. I'm just telling you how a smart contract would work in such a scenario. Now, you give that grace period, they take advantage. They take advantage, right? Now, instead of you going through legal matter and all these things, okay, it's a smart home. The smart contract says, if this, then this. If the homeowner misses 2 months of payment, you lock the doors. Simple. You lock the doors, you change the passwords, whatever the case. So it automates the landlord logistics, if you must. You know what I mean? Things like that. If you take your car to a mechanic and it's a dealership or a legit mechanic that is up with the times, then whatever work they do on your car will be attached to the ledger of your car. So if they don't change your brakes or rotate your tires, but the bill says they did, you're going to see that on the ledger. And this will even stop a lot of people from the lemons out there, the flooded cars, the junk cars that shouldn't even be on the road anymore, that people are trying to sell for a quick buck. This stops all of that. Now, if we take to startups, you have ICOs, which is initial coin offerings, which are kind of like IPOs in stocks and shares. But ICOs are, let's say there's a company that's trying to do what DoorDash does. And they go and they're like, okay, listen, we're putting out a token for our, let's call it Chocolate Express, right? So Chocolate Express has a coin, a cryptocurrency, that is right now $1 a coin. Now you pick these up for $1 a coin and you're pouring into this startup company. You're raising funds for the startup company, but you're also securing a benefit for you. Now let's say the company Chocolate Express launches and their cryptocurrency is now at $5 per coin. You can sell that back to the company or you can hold it. And let's say they say, oh, any original holders of the coin get 50% off their orders or whatever the case. There's a lot of benefits to it. If we talk about NFTs, you can use NFTs for artwork. You can use NFTs for the title of your home. You can use NFTs for concert tickets. There's so many ways to use NFTs, and NFTs are digital ownership. It's one-of-one ownership. So the holder of that NFT is the holder. So it's the same way. I can take a picture of the Mona Lisa, but that doesn't mean I own the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa is still owned by one single entity. And that's how NFTs work. And this works for when you have video games or you have, let's say, like I said, concert tickets where you want to add stuff. If, let's say, an artist drops an album as an NFT, and anyone who buys the NFT or the first 100 people that buy the NFT get a music video, a digital copy of a music video or something like that, which I have a couple. I have a couple of music videos in my wallet. And we'll talk about wallets later, but so it's things like that. It's the changing of the time that we have to constantly be with. Like we don't make weapons out of iron anymore. We don't build our houses out of mortar and clay or whatever they used to use. We're constantly changing. We're constantly evolving. And finances and tech being two of the biggest things that run our world, do you think they would really stay the same? Do you think they would never go through a shift? It's impossible to be on this earth and not be in a constant change or constant evolution. It's impossible. I know there's people that try to fight it. There's people that try to fight it, especially where I'm from, in this small town that I live in. There's people that try to fight it. But then when they can't find a restaurant to eat at, what are they doing? Going to the city, going to the towns that are more managed or more upscale because they have newer technologies and newer foods and stuff, right? That's just the name of the game, guys. So we spoke on blockchain, we spoke on cryptocurrency, we spoke on NFTs. Right? So now what I want to talk to you about is wallets. I want to talk to you about a wallet because the same way you have a wallet for your cash, you have a wallet for your debit cards, it's the same way you will need a wallet for digital currency, for NFTs, you need a digital wallet. And these are Trezor, these are Ledger, this is, BitKey. These are wallets that you're able to send and receive cryptocurrency, NFTs, things like that to the wallet. Whether it's on your phone, which is a hot wallet because it's always connected to the internet, so it's hot, quote unquote hot. Cold wallets are wallets that are disconnected from the internet until you plug it into a computer or your phone to do whatever transaction you need to do. Those are cold wallets. And you have paper wallets, which is crazy to be writing your stuff down on paper, which can be burned, which can be caught in a flood, things like that. So I always suggest for safety and security, the Ledger wallet is your way to go. And this is not me recommending or anything like that. This is what I use. This is my opinion. Because you want to just be able to do what you have to do and log off. That's it. You don't want something that's constantly on the market, that can be hacked, that can be wiped out. None of that. Security is key in this future digital era that we're going into. You guys got all that? And I'm going to break this down throughout the episodes, but I wanted to just give you a foundation for this episode. Now hear me, because a lot of people see cryptocurrency as the end of the world and the mark of the beast and all these belief systems that they have, all the death of the dollar, right? And it's not, guys. It's not. It's just changing technology. Can we say that together? Cryptocurrency is just changing technology. That's it. When we had Y2K, it was the end of the world and the end of computers, and everything was going to be wiped out at midnight. You guys remember that? When we had the debit card, they're going to take your money. How are you going to get your money back? All these things. Right? It's a fear that people move in because they're scared of change. And fear is one of the fastest spreading virus that you will ever see in your life is fear. If you can create enough fear against something, you can create mass hysteria and people will lose their minds. If you tell enough people that we're running out of water on the earth, people will literally start killing each other over water. That's just how it is. So why wouldn't quote-unquote centralization, let's leave it at that, why wouldn't they create fear to hold people back from getting into the biggest financial and technology shift ever? Ever. And it's ownership, guys. It's control. So while you're fearing it and while you're saying, I'm not getting into that, I'm not putting my money in there, they're scooping it up to utilize it later. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't have a aluminum foil hat, none of that. I talk facts. I talk real. So I'm telling you guys, this pod is not going to be like a regular pod. I'm not going to tell you what Bitcoin is doing, why it fell, and then we're going to log off. We're going to talk real. We're going to talk authenticity because I want to see people win. I'm tired of so many people losing. People that could have got into Starbucks and could have got into Apple in the beginning and didn't. Why? Out of fear. And it's a continuous cycle. And then your kids have to go through it. And then your grandkids have to go through it. We're going to speak on stewardship. We're going to speak on legacy. We're going to speak on leaving an inheritance to your children's children. Because I'm tired. I know what I came from, and I'm tired. I'm tired of losing I'm tired of seeing people lose, and I'm tired of hearing people complaining about losing and not doing anything about it. That's what we're going to get into on this pod. So I'm going to wrap up my soapbox talk for today, and I will be back for another episode later on. I love y'all. Thank you for joining. Get ready for a journey. Peace.